Good day, everyone. This is Aaron with DuPont, Taiwan. I really appreciate of being here today. It's my honor and privilege to be the first moderator of this session. Nowadays, ESG investing is really driving enterprise accountabilities and ultimately environmental justice we all know. Sustainability isn't just a common goal. It's what we do as we drive improving our value proposition and the strength of how we deliver and create future value. So today, we have 5 distinguished speakers from around the world, from North America, US, Washington, DC, Europe, Belgium, Brussels, and Asia, Taipei, Taiwan, to share us their visions of responsible care and sustainability. So our first speakers, Mr. William GARCIA, Executive Director from the Cefic, to talk with us about environmental, social, and governance, a new era of responsible care in Europe. So Mr. GARCIA has more than 30 years of experiences in chemical manufacturing and was recently appointed Vice Chairman of Business at OECD Energy and Environment Policy Committee. Since it is still 4 a.m. In Belgium, so we won't wake Mr. GARCIA up, and we have a pre-recording of his speech. So please, let's welcome Mr. GARCIA.
Distinguished speakers, dear colleagues, good morning. I wish to thank our Taiwanese Responsible Care Chairman for inviting me to speak at the Asia Pacific Responsible Care Conference 2022. I'm William GARCIA, Executive Director at Cefic, the European Chemical Industry Council, in charge of responsible care and HSE policies. I could not travel to be with you in person today, hence this pre-recorded intervention. This year's conference is placed under the generic theme of caring for society through self-discipline and responsibility. In times of unprecedented economical and political fragmentation in our global world, in times of war at the doorstep of Europe, in times of more than ever visible, tangible impacts of climate change, this could not be a better way to end the year on a positive and ethical note. Invented in the mid-80s in Canada, responsible care do resonate today across 70 different economies and is widely supported by 62 regional associations and still counting new members. The Responsible Care Global Charter sets the pace and shows the course of action for a responsible industry long committed to caring about society and about our planet. Supported by more than 600 CEOs of global companies, and again, still counting new CEOs willing to join the commitment on Global Charter, our continuous improvement mindset lays the foundation of an ethical and sustainable future for a thriving chemical industry. Although the vision of responsible care remains untouched since inception in the 80s, our corporate social responsibility, also known as CSR, has evolved over time, pushed by the societal demand. A few weeks ago, in Europe, some Cefic board members asked me to reshape the purpose of responsible care in this enhanced CSR context. To that end, I set the scene whilst showing this slide, which I sourced from Ernst & Young, from their November 2021 Global Investors Survey. Although a year old, pretty much day to date, this picture is still very much up to date. But what is at stake for our businesses? In a nutshell and in few words, this is about access to refinancing based on environment and social governance indicators. I would use the acronym of ESG in a few minutes. According to the survey, the results are crystal clear. Investors across the globe, not only in Europe, but investors are seeking for more environmental and social responsibility, ESG. Secondly, they claim more divestments to come up very soon and very likely from poor ESG performing corporations across the globe. And thirdly, they are equally claiming 86% of responders, which is pretty high score, claiming that strong and even stronger ESG and CSR commitments would become key to attract new investments very soon, and particularly post-COVID-19 pandemic investments. What are we talking about when we talk about ESGs, environmental and social governance? I would summarize that in 7 core elements of the ESG, which are all listed in the ISO 26000 international norms. So what is this? And how does responsible care compare to it? So those 7 fundamental features listed here range from community involvement, human rights, labor practices, the protection of the environment, fair operating practices, consumer issues, all of that being framed in a sound governance. Most of them are covered in the Responsible Care Charter. I say most of them, but not all of them, actually. Although the mindset is there to cover them all, in practice, responsible care is strong on own chemicals operational excellence, on governance, on community engagement and fair practices, on labor protection or labor and human and labor rights in general, occupational safety and health, of course, and environmental preservation. However, responsible care, in my opinion, needs to refocus on supply chain, due diligence and customer issues, let alone on the human rights elements, which are not necessarily well covered in the current Responsible Care Charter. To move on, and actually to exemplify how a region like Europe has decided to embrace this new element of connecting the corporations to societal demands, I would show this example, which happened to be voted only a few weeks ago by the European co-legislators. Actually, in that case, the European Commission has proposed a new corporate social responsibility directive and sisters regulations through, in particular, due diligence for supply chain to the co-legislators, the Parliament and the Council of Europe, to decide later on and in the course of 2023 on new ways to engage cooperation with the society back and forth, all part of the Sustainable Finance Initiative in Europe and associated taxonomy for green and sustainable investments in Europe. I would summarize this rather complex directive and sisters regulations in few keywords here on the slide. First and foremost, disclosure. Much less uncharted territory. The investors want to know more from our operations, more from chemicals, substances in products, and their impact on society and the environment, let alone on human health. Second point, and keywords, transparency, walk the talk, no greenwashing. The European legislator wants to really clean up all the trends from many corporations and more to use terms like sustainability or green to actually greenwash their operations. So walking the talk and becoming more transparent is the motto from this new directive point of view. Thirdly, and not the least of it, benchmarking. Benchmarking means that investors want to compare environmental and social governance performances across the EU with the non-EU competitors. Therefore, CSR, according to this new directive, needs to be supported by international standards, and that's what the European Commission is willing now to accomplish by mid-2023, taking into account the work of the sustainability reporting developed by the International Sustainability Standards Board, the ISSB. And finally, I would leave you with another significant trend that says this is not about environmental only anymore. There is a even stronger push now to adopt a dual materiality, placing environmental and social impact on equal footing, whilst trying to attract new investments in our European territory. Net outcome for us in Europe, and likely an equivalent outcome likely to spread across the developed world soon, simply because we are all international and multinational companies operating not only from Europe but across the globe. Likely a political and societal pull to do two things: to innovate down the impact of chemicals of concerns on human health and the environment, and secondly, to disclose more than ever before chemicals and carbon neutrality information. What are the main CSR, corporate social responsibility, and ESG attributes, and how could responsible care management framework help achieving a stronger ESG and CSR indicators? This is about 5 main elements to consider. First, that businesses at large, and not only European businesses, need to embrace this dual materiality concept. And of course, responsible care nowadays is pretty much about environmental impact, needs to bring in more a societal impact in the mix, and particularly across the charter. The second point is that our businesses need to line up on the race to net zero, not only in the EU, but more globally in the developed and developing country. Climate change is pretty much an element to become an investment decision-making parameter very soon. The third point is trust. Trust through transparency and performance analysis capability. So regain trust is the third element that we see now very much strongly pushed by the society towards the legislator in Europe and back and forth spreading over the corporation here on this territory. The fourth element that is equally important to our businesses here is that to assess and report on performances on corporate social responsibility elements. Many companies are using a myriad of different ESG labels, which are non-standardized, non-sectorial. There are primary commercial brands. So our corporation now needs to understand better how to survive this jungle of ESG labels across, not only in Europe, of course, we are exposed to that, but also across the globe. And finally, and not the least of it, we see now happening more and more a very strong trend on activism, activist investors or environmental NGOs seeking to using responsible care, ethical commitment against the corporation that signed on the global charter. So those are the few elements that we see now popping up as a new global trend or European trends that are likely to spread over the next generation of responsible care, at least for the European perspective. Let me take you through a little bit of the European chapter of responsible care in this new perspective of corporate social responsibility and ESG in general in the next few slides. So recent enhancements that we brought into the European chapter of responsible care are actually willing to achieve a better bridging between responsible care and over to CSR and ESG considerations, particularly with regards to SMEs, let alone large corporations, but SMEs do have this limitation in staffing and resources to actually become more, even more compliant with the new CSR directive that had been proposed to the co-legislator in October this year. So latest improvement of responsible care in Europe could be summarized in the 2 or 3 main elements, and I'm pointing out to the fact that my colleague, Miss Giulia Casasole, has also been invited to take you through the enhancements on the European Responsible Care Chapter in more details later on today at the conference. But to summarize that in 3 elements, the new responsible care in Europe is about maturity level assessment and reporting. So we consider that companies could join responsible care at level 1 and over time could accomplish level 4 of excellence in responsible care. Secondly, an enhanced key performance indicators reporting and analysis, and for this we use the spider web visual that is on the screen here as an example, and this is showing actually the 2021 indicators report for the global European operations. And finally, a bridge created between responsible care and all the international norms that support the environmental preservation, occupational safety and health, and CSR and ESG in a nutshell. To conclude my intervention, I've gone across, sort of limited SWOT analysis of responsible care versus corporate social responsibility and environmental social governance matters. It's only, I'm presenting here only the strength and the opportunities and not necessarily other elements of the SWOT. But to conclude on a few strengths that we need to take away from this short presentation, dear colleagues, on responsible care, this is a long-standing sectorial commitment that makes responsible care unique, and our entire industry a leader in this regard, at the vanguard of the commitment for a socially responsible operations for using safely and sustainably all the chemicals we produce across the globe. So this is definitely one of the strengths of this chapter. Responsible care remains globally governed, but regionally implemented. And this is very important to keep the flexibility at the regional level whereas to keep the global governance, stable at the international level through the ICCA organization that Cefic is member of. Responsible care, we have shown that in our European chapter enhancements a year ago, is now well connected to CSR, Sustainable Development Goals, and a number of ISO norms and standards. It is recognized by the United Nations Environmental Programme. It is named as one of the key initiatives of the chemical industry, a part of SciChem. It is starting now to be known and almost recognized by a number of legislators across the globe, and not only in Europe. The Responsible Care European chapter is well in line with the new CSR directive, although, as pointed out in one of my slides, although there are areas of attention, particularly under human rights and labor protection, that we need to investigate. We have now a comprehensive self-assessment process in place, and working across Europe for the European associations and corporations. And this is also equally developed at the ICCA level. Now, there are a few perspectives that I would like to you to take away from this presentation, is that speaking of ESG labels, the EcoVadis, the SASBs, etc., responsible care is not a commercial ESG label and will not compete in this territory due primarily to competition law, competition compliance law. The European chapter of responsible care is designed to help SMEs in preparing themselves to a complete CSR reporting and eventually to a labeling using one of the commercial brands available on the marketplace with that regards. But again, responsible care is not a commercial label for environmental and social governance, but it is there to prepare your corporation, your company to a sound and soft landing in the new CSR world. Secondly, the perspective on responsible care would likely be over time to embrace some international CSR rating, amongst others, those dealing with CO2 emissions and water use and water efficient use across the planet, to name SASB, CDP, for instance. But this needs to be further considered over time and, of course, aligned at the international level, not only at the European level. Thirdly, another one regards the promotion, and I'm pointing to an example here of responsible care in Europe to benefit from one of our federation, France Chimie, that is now working on promoting responsible care towards its stakeholders in France. So there is a pilot here as a to sort of shift responsible care to a sort of a certified program to help SMEs bridging over the CSR evolution in France in particular. And that actually leads me to the last point, which is an open question actually maybe for your conference to take away and reflect on. Where would responsible care remain a voluntary commitment over time or become a sort of certification? This is an open-ended question. I have no vested idea, and certainly no preconceived idea on that one. But that may well lead to my overall conclusion to thank you first and foremost, and thank the APRC conference organizers, our Taiwanese colleague in responsible care, for allowing Cefic and myself to express the European views on these new challenges. Again, I'm sending my upright apologies to you for not being able to take questions on the fly due to the pre-recorded intervention. But I would certainly welcome any comments or questions sent to me, and you have my contact reference here on the screen, via email or through the organizers, our Taiwanese Responsible Care Federation, so via emails or WhatsApp. So comments, questions remotely are welcome. Wishing you all a very fruitful and successful APRC Conference 2022. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Garcia. We strongly believe that the ESG performance is really playing an even more critical role after the post-pandemic era. So coming up next, our next speaker is from American Chemistry Council, Sustainability Communications Senior Director, Ms. Jenny Heumann, to share with us the responsible care and ACC contributions to sustainability. So Jenny has been with ACC for more than 12 years, and I'm sure we can learn the strategies from ACCs for their sustainability priorities from the speech. So Jenny, are you on the line?
Hi, yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly. Would you mind sharing your chart from your side?
Sharing my slides? Yes, let me pull them up real quick. Hold on.
So it's quite late in the Washington, D.C. now, so we really appreciate it.
Not too bad, not too bad. Hold on, okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for that lovely introduction. I'd also like to thank Renata and everyone at the Taiwan Responsible Care Association for inviting me to take part in this conference. And I'm also really glad that I got to follow William Garcia, who talked a lot about what's going on in Europe. And I'm going to hopefully be able to give my perspective on responsible care and our contributions to sustainability, as well as talk about some of the activities taking place at the American Chemistry Council. So I guess just to start off, I'd say, in times of great challenge, chemistry and chemical manufacturers have been there for the world to lean on. And that continues for us today. Chemistry plays an essential role in driving progress across all three dimensions of sustainable development: environmental, social, and economic, and also helping to address and overcome the world's most pressing sustainability challenges. And responsible care is the framework that enables the global chemical industry to contribute to the sustainable development agenda by fostering sustainable products and practices, community relationships, and a culture of continuous improvement. Now, responsible care is not the industry's only contribution to sustainability, but it does provide a strong foundation from which our industry can embrace sustainable development initiatives and goals more broadly to drive safe operations and business practices at our facilities around the world. Achieving a cleaner, more efficient global landscape relies on transformative change. Responsible care helps enable the chemical industry to innovate the products and set forward the practices that can make life better, healthier, and safer for people around the world. From protecting worker safety, providing good jobs, and engaging with and supporting our facility communities, to developing the products that benefit our global society. The products and processes made possible by chemistry help contribute to most of the UN's 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Our industry is helping to provide clean drinking water and deliver a safe, adequate food supply. We support the pursuit of a more circular economy where resources and materials are continuously recycled to eliminate waste while creating value for all. We're also helping to improve energy efficiency in today's modern transportation vehicles, as well as in buildings, to help contribute to a less carbon-dependent society. And by using the innovations of chemistry, new renewable energy sources and technologies can become more efficient, more affordable, and scalable. Responsible care enables the chemical industry to do all this, while also addressing some of our major sustainability footprint issues that face our industry, including product stewardship, pollution prevention, process safety, emergency preparedness, community engagement, safe transportation and distribution of chemicals, and chemical security. Now, I reviewed our global chemical industry's contributions to responsible care and sustainability. Now, I'd like to talk about some of the actions and initiatives that the American Chemistry Council and its members are taking to advance sustainability. Earlier this year, ACC conducted research to gain some insight into how people view the chemical industry, what concerns they have, and how our industry can work to address these concerns. What we learned is, while the majority of people that we heard from appreciate the role that chemistry plays in creating innovative and useful products, as well as creating jobs, they are less aware of the work the industry is doing to help protect the environment and combat climate change. Community members also shared with us the topics that they care about the most. These include monitoring and improving air quality, conserving and protecting drinking water, increasing product and process safety, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, expanding recycling, as well as creating a more diverse workforce. Demonstrating our industry's progress and actions in these areas and our work to create a cleaner, safer, more sustainable future is not only the right thing to do, and it's also good for the bottom line. The U.S. chemical industry can be more efficient as it cuts waste, reduces energy use, and environmental impact. Our companies can build and strengthen trust with their employees, consumers, and residents in the communities where we do business. And it doesn't stop here. ACC members are committed to continually building upon these efforts. So how did we work to identify and advance our sustainability priorities? Well, we have a couple different pathways we took here. First, in 2017, the ACC Board of Directors drafted ACC's sustainability principles, which are available on the ACC website, to highlight what we stand for. These principles outline the U.S. chemical industry's commitment to promote the safe use of chemicals and accelerated innovation, to address the environmental impacts of our operations and products, to go beyond regulatory requirements, to manage, monitor, and report our progress through responsible care, as well as to collaborate with others to fulfill our commitments to sustainability while creating the products and technologies that are necessary for a sustainable future. For 35 years, responsible care has been the U.S. chemical industry's commitment to excellence in environmental health, safety, and security performance. And we are very proud to be celebrating the 35th anniversary of responsible care in the U.S. next year in 2023. All ACC members are required to implement responsible care as a condition of their membership in ACC. This means that company CEOs will sign the responsible care guiding principles. And all of our companies are required to track their performance on environmental health, safety, and security metrics on an annual basis, as well as transparently report this performance, and ACC shares this information on our public website. Our members also must undergo regular third-party audits and certification to the Responsible Care Management System, and also implement the Responsible Care product safety, process safety, and security codes. Another key element of our responsible care is engaging in the communities where we operate. Our plant managers and our company leaders meet with community members through community advisory panels and other forums to understand their concerns and demonstrate what the facility is doing to protect the health of its workers, community residents, and the environment. ACC member companies are also making sustainability commitments and demonstrating their action towards these commitments. Many of our members have been doing this for years, setting goals and targets, and publishing sustainability reports to share their progress. Also, just to build off what William was talking about earlier, many of our member companies are reporting their sustainability performance using public reporting tools and standards. ACC is also working to provide guidance to small and medium-sized enterprises and companies that might be more at the beginning of their sustainability journey. And ACC, 2 years ago, launched a set of voluntary sustainability metrics, which build off the responsible care metrics that members are required to report, to gather additional information about company performance in environmental, social, and other areas. And we are very proud to state that even though this is a voluntary program so far, we have gotten a lot of widespread commitment from our memberships reporting these metrics. So it's gotten off to a really good start. With the sustainability principles, responsible care, and our member company engagement as a backdrop, ACC has set forth a sustainability strategy that's focused on the areas where we can have the most impact. This slide here outlines the purpose and goals of our sustainability initiative. That is to promote the role of chemistry in providing solutions to our sustainability challenges, as I said earlier, to demonstrate the commitment of ACC members to sustainability progress and to help companies that are developing sustainability programs enhance their efforts. We're also working to facilitate collaborative efforts to address our stakeholder expectations and our sustainability challenges. We're doing all of this and leveraging our ACC member company initiatives and innovations to help shape and strengthen industry reputation and support positive advocacy outcomes. And we're demonstrating through action our progress on key areas to advance sustainability that I've outlined here on this slide. Our priority areas are climate, water, product safety, circularity, and air, as well as diversity and inclusion. Now I'll run through some of our goals and activities in each of these areas. For climate and reducing greenhouse gas emissions, we know that climate change is real, impacted by human activity, and we need the business of chemistry to solve it. ACC members are continuing to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and energy use in their operations by developing and deploying clean manufacturing technologies and emissions-reducing solutions. ACC members are investing in technologies to enable continued accelerated emissions reduction. There are a variety of abatement solutions that are at various stages of maturity to address the vast majority of industry emissions. And currently, ACC and its members are focused on several, including carbon capture and storage, clean hydrogen, alternative feedstocks, and electrifications. And we track our progress through responsible care. And since 2017, ACC members have reduced their greenhouse gas emissions intensity by 12%. And we're looking to continue that progress while continuing to create and develop the products that are so necessary to help others enhance sustainability. Second priority is water. We know that access to clean water and water quality is gaining national attention. Half of the world could have water scarcity issues over the next couple decades, and there is an opportunity to get ahead of this emerging global issue through progressive commitment and actions. ACC prioritizes conservation and protection of drinking water near our facilities and is developing products and technologies to reduce water use. We're collaborating with the nonprofit group, the Water Council, to create a water body risk assessment, which our member companies are using to help identify specific issues and risks at the individual facility level. The goal is to protect drinking water in the communities where we operate. Our members are also implementing products and practices to conserve water, including cooling water treatment solutions that can save billions of gallons of water each year, as well as dyes that reduce water consumption in textile manufacturing by up to 50%, and other initiatives. Product safety. The safety of chemicals is a top stakeholder concern, and there's growing interest in sustainable chemistry as a solution. We know that chemistry plays an essential role in the products and technologies that we use every day, from vital ingredients in consumer products to raw materials and manufacturing processes. It's also critical that chemicals are produced and used in ways that protect the health of people and the environment. ACC is enhancing product safety, improving our manufacturing processes, and being more transparent about what we are doing well and where we can improve. Through the Responsible Care Product Safety Code, ACC members consider product safety and sustainable chemistry in the product innovation process. This means incorporating product safety assessments to identify hazard and potential risk early in the product development process, reviewing our existing product portfolios to identify opportunities to innovate products with improved safety profiles, and transparently sharing information about chemicals and products. Our next priority is circularity. Circularity and resource efficiency are emerging areas of focus. There's intense pressure on plastics and also an opportunity to demonstrate leadership in our efforts to transform waste into reusable materials. ACC members are pursuing programs and technologies to recover, recycle, and reuse plastics materials to create a more circular economy. Plastics is strong and lightweight. We know multiple life cycle analyses show it is often more sustainable than alternative materials. Plastics are a valuable resource that should be kept in our economy and out of our environment. To recycle more plastics, we need to implement emerging advanced recycling technologies. advanced recycling can complement traditional mechanical recycling and enables more hard-to-recycle plastics to be reused. In the last 3 years, 64 projects in mechanical and advanced recycling in the U.S. have been announced. Together, these projects have the potential to divert more than 1 million metric tons of waste from our landfills each year. And America's plastics makers are also committed to a goal in which 100% of plastics packaging in the U.S. is reused, recycled, or recovered by 2040. This goal aligns with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's goal of a national recycling rate of 50% by 2030. Shifting to a national strategy will help create a stronger, more resilient domestic recycling system and help address plastic waste in the environment. In short, we're combining our innovation with sustainability for a lower carbon future and a circular economy for plastics. Our fifth priority, air quality. And now air quality is increasingly seen as an environmental justice issue, and the focus will continue to grow. ACC members are working to improve air quality in the communities where we operate, as well as tracking and publicly reporting our progress in reducing air emissions. In Houston, Texas, a hub of chemical manufacturing in the United States, ACC has worked with industry and community leaders to launch a groundbreaking voluntary air monitoring program. And ACC's foundation provided $1 million for stationary and mobile air monitors to be placed in low-income areas in the region. Many of these areas did not have air monitoring capabilities before. We are also working now to expand this effort to other states and geographies where we have a significant number of facilities. We also track our progress through responsible care. And since 2017, ACC members have reduced their SOx air emissions by 18% and their NOx emissions by 39%. Finally, diversity and inclusion. We're working to create a more diverse workforce to transform the chemical industry by creating a pipeline of skilled professionals that is more reflective of who we are as a country. The United States will need 1 million new workers in the science, technology, math, and engineering, or STEM field, by 2030. In 2021, ACC partnered with other organizations to launch the Future of STEM Scholars Initiative, or FOSSI, to provide college scholarships and professional development opportunities for students majoring in STEM at historically Black colleges and universities. To date, FOSSI has provided 295 scholarships in just the first 2 years, and we received financial commitments of nearly $30 million from our member companies. We're on our way to our goal of funding 1,000 scholarships by 2025. In conclusion, the bottom line is a cleaner, safer, and more sustainable chemical industry is the right thing to do, and it's good for the bottom line. Being economically competitive and efficient can go hand in hand. At ACC, we're focused on building trust with employees, consumers, and residents, and continuing to build on these efforts. If I can leave you with one final thought, it is this. While we are facing a number of challenges, I am optimistic about our future. The men and women of the chemical industry have the tools, know-how, and desire to expand the development and adoption of chemistry-based innovations that will enable us to meet our challenges head-on for the betterment of our industry and for society as a whole. Thank you again for the opportunity to join you here this morning, and I look forward to the rest of the presentations.
Many thanks to Jenny's sharing for their ACC's priorities and insights. So Jenny, if you don't mind, please stay with us a little bit longer so we can have you with us to join the panel discussion later.
Sounds great.
Thank you. So moving on, I'm very proud to introduce our next two speakers. They are my co-workers, Ms. Karen Peng and Ms. Nancy Lin, who are the product stewardship and regulatory consultants. Yeah. And they are going to brief us advancing DuPont sustainability and innovation safer by design. Karen and Nancy are both the subject matter experts for the area of hazard communication and chemical regulations. I'm really very fortunate to have them with me as a team. So please welcome Karen.
Hello, everyone. My name is Karen Peng. Thanks for Aaron's introduction. So I'm one of the speakers for today's topic, Advancing DuPont Sustainability, Innovation Safer by Design. As all we know that sustainability is rapidly evolving with increasing expectations being placed on corporations by investors, customers, and stakeholders. So today we are thrilled to introduce DuPont's growth and innovation strategy, which are tied closely with our 2030 sustainable goals. Okay, so let's start from here. Our purpose of DuPont Company is to empower the world with essential innovations to thrive. Over the course of DuPont's existence, we have proven repeatedly that most valuable and enduring business outcomes are the ones enable both society and the planet to thrive together. To paraphrase this statement, DuPont is an over 200-year-old international company. We keep experiencing changes and transformations over the years. So we continue to find innovation solutions to solve the most challenging problems in the world, to help people live safer and healthier lives. To achieve our company purpose, our core values are really the foundations of our sustainable strategy. And this positions DuPont for long-term growth, strengthens our connections within local communities, and makes us the choice for the best and brightest talents. Okay, so since 2030, Sustainable Development Goals were announced. What has been most exciting about DuPont's journey is to experience the path of changes with our investors, customers, and stakeholders. The 2030 SDGs are really our inspirations and in many ways forms our foundations of our corporate SDGs. As the slide shows, we have 3 pillars in our corporate SDG, and each pillar has its own targets in 3 perspectives. So we've set up these ambitious goals to not only commit to our corporate social responsibility, but again, also to achieve our company purpose. To empower the world. So I would like to give you the whole picture starting from empower people to thrive. So how do we achieve this goal? DuPont provide employee professional and personal opportunities to contribute to our corporate purpose. So during 2021, we increased our focus on advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion, so-called D&I. And we made contributions such as the establishment of D&I dashboard. We can easily capture the D&I performance with gender and ethnic diversity through this website. DuPont also pays attention on social injustice by increasing the engagement with minority and sponsoring the scholarship for STEM schools. Our commit to accelerate D&I process through employee resource groups. For example, DuPont Women Network is one of the groups. And it cultivates supportive and inclusive culture, especially for female workers. And its vision ties closely with SDG 5, gender equality. Our global commitment to D&I provides a vibrant workplace which attracts and retains the best talent in the labor competitive market. And this stands for our success based on our long-standing core value, respect for people. Moving on to our second goal, protect people and the planet. We highlight the significant progress toward acting on climate goals, such as an assessment of our Scope 3 emission and the implementation of projects which will reduce greenhouse gases emission across our sites. In addition, we advanced our 2030 leading water stewardship goal by joining the related coalition, as well as introducing new products to the market to help others to advance their water stewardship efforts. As all we know that in 2021, it continued to present a global pandemic and other challenges, but we were still able to deliver safety performance in the top 25% of SCC companies. So to achieve our acting on climate goals of a 30% GHG reduction and by carbon neutrality by 2050, we are implementing an integrated strategy, including to create a low-carbon industrial processes, source renewable energy, and reduce overall energy uses. Briefly speaking, we have 3 internal approaches. First of all, we are looking for renewable electricity investment. In 2021, DuPont joined RE100 and committed to source 100% renewable electricity by 2050 in all our global operations. Secondly, we are looking to convert steam from coal waste to neutral gas. In 2021, 15% of our electricity were procured by renewable sources or from the purchase of REC. 10 of DuPont's manufacturing sites are powered by 100% renewable electricity by the procurement of REC and other methods. Our third internal approach is to work with our manufacturing site to find lower GHG emission processes. So when we think about emission, we can always refer to the greenhouse protocol and divide them into 3 scopes. Scope 1 indicates the direct emission that in operations owned by DuPont. Scope 3 are all indirect emissions in our procurements, including electricity, steam, heating, or cooling, and that are consumed by DuPont. Scope 3 are the indirect emissions that occur in our value chain. So DuPont's footprint is really 80% of emission, scope emission 3, and 20% of scope 1 and 2. And this is consistent with our industrial structure. So in this slide, the pie chart shows the share of scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions. In 2020, the scope 3 emissions were 14.7 million metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent, and it's represented 80% of DuPont's total GHG emissions. Despite the complexity in scope 3, we still made a priority action and estimate all related such as the processing, use, and end of life of our sold products. With this information, we are making a roadmap to prioritize our actions and reduce the scope 3 emission, and our efforts will be represented in the future reports. So beside our internal approaches, we keep thinking about how to create values with our clients through the climate actions. In this slide shows the newly developed sustainability content and tools, which help us better communicate and align the goals with our investors, customers, and stakeholders. The sustainability dashboard can also benefit our internal communication regarding the scope 1, 2, 3 GHG emissions. Last but not least, here's our third pillar of SDG goal, innovate for good. At DuPont, we commit to use innovation expertise to address and solve the most challenging and market-based problems in the world. So in today's presentation, we'll focus more on innovating safer by design. So let me stop here and hand over to Nancy to introduce our contribution in this perspective. Thank you.
Okay, hello everyone. This is Nancy from DuPont Taiwan PSR team. As Karen already shared the overall picture of DuPont's commitment and roles in sustainability. Moving on, I would like to share more and focus more on innovation safer by design. So as DuPont's 2030 sustainability goal, we are committed to develop our product and processes based on the principle of green chemistry. So To identify opportunities to achieve the goal, we are going to reduce, eliminate, and replace the substance of concern that may be present in our products. And I will talk about this more in next pages. So let's start from the safer by design concepts. So in the middle, you can see the hierarchy of controls. So from the bottom to top, it means least effective to most effective wave of controls. So what we focused on before, that is we used to do process safety management to manage risk. So we will have some suggestion and actions on PPE to protect the workers with personal protective equipment. And we will also have guidelines on administrative controls and engineering controls to change the way people work and to isolate people from the hazards. And all of those actions are very good and sufficient, but they are focused more on the existing work. And since we have more experience in working and on the product development, we are having some concept change and moving on to think about the risk beforehand, to think about how we can remove and avoid those risks in the first hand. So that's why what we're working on now and what we're going to do in the future is that we believe that we have to put more focus on how to replace the hazard by substitution and also by physically remove those hazards by elimination. So here I would like to talk about DuPont's Safer by Design toolkits. So from the upper left-hand side is the PSR standard. And the standard is actually about how we identify the substance of concern and how we do the chemical measurement and how to do risk evaluation based on those chemical with hazards. And on the upper right-hand side is a chemical awareness toolkit. So this is a toolkit that is released as DuPont's 2020 Sustainability Goals commitment. And it is a free web-based application that you can easily access all chemical information at once from a very strong database. And I will talk about these two items more later. And at the bottom is the resource for internal DuPont users. So starting from, we have education series that talks about a lot of training courses related to what is the principle of green chemistry to safer by design with some real example to each principles. And we also have the sustainability intelligence and weak signal monitoring tool that can help the users to know more about the emerging regulations, example, reports, and what we can do regarding sustainability. So here, I would like to share the PSR standard. So moving from left to right, it is how we will start from how to identify the substance of concern first, and then how we do the risk assessment on those hazardous chemicals. So the substance of concern list is actually built up by the risk analysis across different risk dimensions. So the first one is hazardous that is known to have human or environmental exposure. That is substance that could be found in drinking water, in human blood, or highly hazardous substance that with CMR property. And the second category is substance that is known with significant regulatory pressure. For example, substance that might lead to the right to operate risk, like the SVHC in EU or the TSCA in US. And the last category is substance that is highly hazardous and banned. So for example, there are some globally known banned and restricted chemicals like PUPs, like Stockholm Conventions, and ozone depleting chemicals. It will be listed in this category. So once we identify the substance of concern, we can move on to do the risk evaluation. So at the right-hand side, you can see the matrix that is built up by the impact and likelihood of the risk. So on the x-axis, it is the risk impact, which you can also see it as the level of hazards based on the three categories on the left-hand side. So it is starting from the minor, moderate, significant to severe. And on the y-axis is the likelihood of the risk, which you can also see it as the potential of exposure of the user, starting from industrial, professional, consumer, to sensitive population. So with the risk evaluation results, it can help us to identify whether we are going to include or exclude the substance of concern, or whether we are going to continue or discontinue to use the substance of concern in our existing products. And by integrate this substance of concern and matrix concept, we can make early action to prevent and to reduce the risk in our future product development, and therefore help us to have a better product portfolio in both safety and sustainability. Okay, next, I would like to talk about another Safer by Design toolkit, which is a chemical awareness toolkit. So this chemical awareness toolkit has a very cute abbreviation as CAT. So the basic and the core concept is that it's built up with a very strong database, the CAT database, and the database is built up by the regulatory lists provided by 3E and other global publicly available database that you can see like regulatory information, the chemical information, and all hazardous information. So with all those database build up, we can easily assess the chemical information, including the physical chemical properties, the CMR potential, toxicity, hazard assessment, and regulatory information. And all this information could be selected by all these 6 applications on the outer side of the layer. So I would like to talk about one of the application, which is chemical screening here. So as you can see, you can see the result in a very colorful pie chart. And each category actually means different properties, from like environmental impacts, mobility, persistence, bioaccumulation, aquatic toxicity, health hazard, to public perception. So it is a tool that can help you to make some comparison and judgment for similar chemicals. So once you use this tool, you can see these 2 pie charts and see whether which one have like higher potential on like regulatory concern or hazard concerns by the size and the color of the item. And actually, you can filter by each item if you are specifically interested in one of them. And besides the visualized pie chart, you can also see the information in a category-wise view. So by seeing that, you can see the actual value and also link to the original data source. I would also like to mention another application, which is PSR summary. So for this one, you can see, so just like the name it is. So it shows the summary of all kinds of information, from like the regulatory concern, from GHS classification, to the environment phase information, which is persistent and bioaccumulative. So you can see all actual values and the source and the database in one glimpse. So next, after introducing those powerful tools, I would like to share the case of how we do the Safer by Design replacement. So here I would want to mention the legacy brominated flame retardant issue. So BFR is known to be a very good, have very good performance on fire safety. However, it is also known to have highly hazardous. So take HBCD as an example. Even though the substance is with good fire safety performance, it has some major drawbacks, like it is hazardous to not only human, but also environment. It is persistent, bioaccumulative, and also toxic. So in the right-hand side, you can see a map, and the color map represents the place where HBCD is widely used. And the green color actually means place with like the most stringent restriction to use HBCD, which is EU, and HBCD is actually regulated as SVGHC in that area. And for places that is colored in orange, it means there will be some ongoing, in progress, or proposed regulation restriction in the future. So considering the hazards and potential right to operate risk, scientists are start to finding replacement for this HBCD. So to implement the safer by design concept, we will start from finding a safe alternative as our first priority. Then it has to be equally have good performance on fire safety, and also it has to be economically viable. So the scientists work through various candidates, and they implement all those three criteria and find this polymetric flame retardant, Blue Edge. So this is a non-hazardous safer by design replacement, and it is quite different from the structure that it is physically very large compared to other halogenated small molecules. So that's why it is less hazardous, but still it has the good performance on fire safety performance, and also it is economically marketable. So it shows as a good example of how we find a replacement on safer by design. And last, I would like to share some sustainable moves in Taiwan. So as the PSR standard is kind of like the guideline or core value for our whole product development process. And in Taiwan, we will do product stewardship review for each new product development. We will start from raw material risk assessment to see whether there's any high hazardous substance of concern is used, then move on to product risk assessment. And as Jenny, I think Jenny also mentioned earlier that during the whole process, we have to continually or to do some cyclic review to see if there's new hazardous information or new regulation coming up. So we will do cyclic risk review every 3 to 5 years to see whether there's any raw material or product that needs to be phased out or needs to be replaced. And except that, I will also want to share some one example from our Asia CMP PET business. So in 2022, the Asia CMP Center implemented a strategy to reduce, to find a replacement on the less hazardous raw material. By selecting that less hazardous raw material, which is non-halogen, we can lead to less hazardous waste. And we work with local recycling technology company to regenerate the byproduct for other application. So that is a good example of showing how we do the safer byproduct and lead to circular economy. Okay, so this is my actual really the last page of my presentation today. So at the bottom left, you can see the webinar for chemical awareness toolkit. So I just mentioned like 1 or 2 applications today, but you can access more and the full information there if you're interested in this tool. Besides that, you can also access our 2022 sustainability report and other more sustainability stories if you're interested from the link above. So thank you everyone for having me share DuPont's movement and on sustainability today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Karen and Nancy. I believe now you see why I'm so proud to be part of the team. Okay, so our next speaker and the last topic is something I'm very passionate about. It's because we have a group of talents based in Taiwan, but they serve the global hazard communication needs in DuPont. So let's welcome their team leader, Mia Fang, the product stewardship and regulatory managers, to share us about the chemical hazard communication, DuPont global practice sharing. Yeah. Mia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Mia, and today I would like to share chemical hazard communication, DuPont global practice. And to begin with, I would like to talk about hazard communication, since some of you may be for your first time to hear what is hazard communication. So let me just briefly introduce what is hazard communication. hazard communication is so-called as HAZCOM. It is set of a process and procedure that importer or employer must implement in workplace to ensure the people's safety and to protect people from injury or illness while using the chemicals. And in DuPont, HAZCOM group is under PSNR, Product Stewardship and Regulatory Affairs. For this department, we are doing some compliance work like chemical registration, SDS and label generation, product stewardship review, and also import-export compliance check, or volume tracking reporting, toxic chemical reporting, etc. And because of those work, and someone says that PSNR is really like Type A main station, because we are connecting this kind of different functions like R&D, legal, sites, engineer, and supply chain, sourcing, logistics, etc. That we're connecting those different functions all together in order to do the compliance work. So we are really like center and to control those data and also do the compliance work and ensure that DuPont we're using the chemical and ensure we are right to operate. And we also like the transition point because we need to do the chemical registration work. So we need to like collect the data from different functions in order to collect this data, product information, and use and export compositional data. So that we are also like a transition point. We collect those data and summarize and consolidate and then submit to the government to ensure that the chemical can be used in some specific area or countries to ensure we are compliant with the regulation as well. And so HAZCOM group is under PSNR department, and what we are doing in this department is to deliver the hazards associated with the chemicals during handling, shipping, or any form of exposure. And as for the HAZCOM scope, it includes like safety data sheet, label, and chemical inventory, trainings, and PPE, etc. So in general, we think that SDS and label, they are the really critical component for the product safety in general. And according to United Nations GHS Purple Book, UN GHS Purple Book, and an SDS, it contains like 16 sections information on SDS. And it includes like product identification, GHS classification, hazardous ingredient disclosure, first aid, occupational exposure limits, and PPE and dangerous goods, etc. So because we in order to create such powerful, useful, and we think it's really reliable SDS. So it's really requires many aspect of expert to give us many feedback input in order to create SDS with such powerful informations. And in DuPont, we have many in-house resources to come up with the SDS in generation process. For example, we have toxicologists. They review the pure substance classification, toxicological endpoints for the pure substance. And they do the risk assessment. They also roll out some program to periodically review the classification that we use for pure substance in system that we use today for DuPont. And we also have data system experts. They upload the data to the system and then run the report whenever there is a regulatory amendment. And we also have the HAZCOM authors. They are well-trained people. They understand how to do the SDS and label in system. They understand what is the classification according to UN GHS Purple Book. And they have to co-work with country PSNR experts because the country expert, they understand local regulation very familiar. And they have to work with them to ensure that SDS that we create today is compliant with the local regulations. And they also have to, as a HESCOM author, they're also responsible for working, they also have to work with the product stewards, since the product stewardship is the people that, it's a group of people that are familiar with product information. So when we create SDS, we have to both balancing, we have to balance the company interests and also to comply with local regulations as well. And as for the product stewardship, and they are not only doing like not only to provide the product information, they also need to check the import aspect to check whether SDS or this product is sellable in some of the countries. And in addition to that, they also manage the product. They need to conduct the product stewardship review. So like Nancy just shared, they do the risk assessment for the product, for the raw material that we use for the products from the R&D stage to the commercial stage. And we do also have the country experts, and we do have dangerous goods experts, sorry, and then manage the DG classification to ensure, to determine whether the product that we sell today is to be classified as dangerous goods. And they also manage the distribution requirements, responsible for emergency response things. We also have the site EHS people. They implement the HESCOM program to ensure that the chemical or raw material that we use in site is really safe for internal workers. And they also need to manage the risk based on the chemical hazards that and also to manage the exposure, to control exposure. So pretty much we understand this is the creation process and the resource that we involve in the SDS creation. So SDS creation is not really just simple, but sometimes really difficult based on the data completeness and also data complexity. So if you can look further, on the right-hand side, we have responsible care codes. There are emergency response, distribution, employee health and safety, pollution prevention, process safety, product stewardship. You look further, these responsible care codes are actually highly associated with our SDS. Yeah, so SDS can be used in many occasions to support those responsible care codes. For example, like there's a chemical accident, we need to check SDS to understand the hazards of the chemicals. And if we would like to ship the material, and we maybe need to check SDS section 614 that to know that what is the shipping requirement. If we would like to dispose the waste, we also check SDS section 15. Section 15 to check whether what kind of the methodology that we use to dispose the material. So SDS creation process is sometimes very difficult, and SDS itself is not really just a few-page simple document, but most important thing is really comprehensive to cover a lot of sections for different people, for different purpose, for different people to use. Yeah. And DuPont is not only generating SDS for the new product for the new country that we import or sales in the beginning, and we also sell. We also regenerate SDS to ensure that to ensure that we comply with the regulation, and to ensure that data we use the most up to date. And there are some global projects identified here that we have Japan. JIS project, Japanese Industrial Standard, Z7252 and Z7253 amendment. It's the amendment to update the GHS revision from 4 to 6. And it also, there's also requirements to update like format, Japanese wordings, etc. And we also have like Taiwan Toxic and Concerning Chemical Substance Control Act Amendment, And it is to update the requirement for the label requirement for the toxic chemical and cancerous chemical. And we also have the project to implement classification for some Latin America countries. And we do have the project to for updating the expired SDS for some AP country with the expiry requirements. We do also have another project like EU REACH Annex 2 project that to update some subsections and to remove or update some property mandatory properties for the SDS. So overall, I think SDS itself is sometimes updating SDS is sometimes very difficult, and so we have to cover with many functions that I just mentioned, that there are many resources that we need to put in this generation circle. And because of those regulatory update projects, we are able to review our data. We are able to enhance our capability to understand the regulation, to understand the template and data things, so that we can further improve ourselves and also further commit to the EHS, which is aligned with our sustainability goal. And my next slide. And this is my last slide, also the summary. And DuPont PSNR and is responsible for managing products life cycle, focusing on environmental, health, and safety issue at each phase for the product. And SDS and label compliance are the critical components for the product safety. And the SDS generation is sometimes very difficult and involves a lot of sections and require many different experts to give us input, and so that we can better comply with the regulation and also demonstrate the capability of to the EHS. And SDS and label are also highly associated with responsible care code that it can use in many occasions. And next is each DuPont management and employee owns responsibility of DuPont commitment to EHS. Lastly, I would like to echo Karen's sustainability section that our sustainability strategy is grounded in our purpose, which is to empower the world with the essential innovations to thrive. Because we believe the most valuable and enduring business outcomes are the ones that enable people and enable planets to thrive. And today, SDS and label that we create today is not really simply for compliance purpose. The most important thing or meaningful thing is we are demonstrating the capability of the responsible care and the capability of protecting people and protecting planets. So lastly, I would like to say that what we do for sustainability that matters to the world. And what we all do together, we can make better impact, even bigger impacts. I think that's all of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mia. So we have a very precise time control, yeah. So next, I would like to invite three speakers, Karen, Nancy, and Mia, to join the panel discussion, together with Jenny on the line. Yeah. So please have a seat. I also see a couple of questions on the line. Yeah. Since we didn't receive the questions beforehand, so I hope the audience don't mind that I prepared three questions for the speakers to answer. Okay. So first, questions regarding sustainability. So we talk a lot and hear a lot about sustainability and ESG. And every company or association have their own approach to advance their sustainabilities. But it's always easier to say than done. So I would like to ask the speakers to maybe talk a little bit more down to earth. What is your actions or one examples you can give or provide to the audience in this year? What have you contributed to advance sustainabilities? Okay, so because people might wondering what can be the first step. So you might inspire one or two audience maybe. So maybe I can ask Jenny to share first. What is your insights and what have you contributed to the sustainabilities in ACC? Jenny, please.
Hi, yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, that's a great question. I think there are a lot of things, we can do as individuals to contribute to sustainability just in our daily lives, whether that be, recycling materials, being thoughtful about our purchases. I think one thing that I have done is really cut back on a lot of purchasing and, reusing products when I can, or repairing products rather than buying new ones. I'd say that's the same kind of case with, with my company. We really are focused on using products in the office that are sustainably made. We work with, we do work with our vendors to make sure that we are working with suppliers that are undertaking sustainability practices in their work, so we can kind of use our dollars, spend with our dollars on activities that are more sustainability or conservation oriented. So I think that's one thing that I try to focus on doing personally, and I do see happening at work a lot too.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. And next, please let me invite Karen to share. What have you done this year?
Okay, thank you, Aaron. So I think obviously I'm contributing to my family's sustainability right now. Just kidding. Yeah. So I think I'm very pleasure to introduce that in this year we have a great achievement in Taiwan, DuPont Taiwan, that with our PSNR regional leaders, Kenny's strong endorsement that we kick off the sustainability committee in this year, and we initiated the program of Hope Reading with the Commonwealth magazine, the foundation of them, one of the foundation of them. Yeah, I think it's a really great achievement for DuPont Taiwan, because we are really making efforts in our SDG goals by engaging and sponsoring the local communities, and we cooperate with several elementary schools and junior high schools, and we participated as a volunteer to as their reading partners, monthly or bi-weekly. And I feel very satisfied and very honored to join the committee as well as the Hope Reading program, because I think the smiles on the faces of the children is really priceless, because not only they are happy, but also I can see the true happiness and the hopes in their heart. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Yeah, we chose a lot of books related to the SDG goals, and we read together with those less resource elementary school students. Yeah. And that's really fulfill our heart inside. Okay, so next I would like to invite Nancy to share your insight. What have you done from PSNR maybe?
Yeah, so I actually prepare a more formal answer for this one. So as my topic is around like how to do the PSR standard, and I already shared a lot about that. So I would like to share one example that we actually do the raw material risk assessment during the R&D research development this year. So except the core value, or say the primary guideline of PSR standard that I mentioned a lot, when we do the raw material risk assessment, we actually have to consider the like the criteria for each business. So like the business I work with, they have their own guideline on chemical selection and use policy. And except for they have to follow the SOC list, they also have to follow their own policy. Like there will differentiate into like tier 1, tier 2 chemicals means chemicals that should be prohibited or restricted to use for their business. And the case is when we do the raw material risk assessment, we found RD proposed to use a tier 2 chemical, which is you can use it, but with some kind of restriction, because it has some level of hazards. So we work with R&D and prepare like documents, including why we have to use this material from a technical perspective, and to how we can mitigate the risk. Like the fundamental that we mentioned before, you have to provide some safety guideline from the PPE selection and the process work, how to actually mitigate the risk and to convince the user and the production line that they are safe to use this material before we can actually move on. So to complete the whole process, we work with from EHS, from R&D, supply chain, and to technology team to mitigate all the risks across the product development. And we have to get the approval from our global leadership team. So I think it can show as a good example of how we actually cares about what sustainability is like in DuPont. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. I also see on the line there's a question related. It's regarding the CAT tool you just introduced, and they would like to contact you if you don't mind. And I believe you have left the link in the last page of your presentation, right?
Yes, I did mention that. And we actually, in the last page, it is a webinar about how to use the Chemical Awareness Toolkit. But in the first page about the Chemical Awareness Toolkit, there's actually the actual link you can access that web page. And actually, you can just Google Chemical Awareness Toolkit, and on the first searching line, you can find that website. Yeah. Okay,
thank you, Nancy. And before we move to the next topic, Jenny, I saw one question related to ACC. So it's about how ACC encourage SME to embrace sustainability matters in their business model as it involves investment in resources.
Thank you so much. Yes, that's a great question, and it is a big area of focus for ACC. You know, as you know, we do know that many of our larger member companies have been implementing sustainability practices, like DuPont for a very long time. But we also have a number of small and medium-sized companies that are interested in sustainability, but maybe have not had the resources or some of the ability to move forward. So we really look at this, our sustainability initiative, as an opportunity to help bring all of our member companies forward. Several things, I guess I'd say that we do to help encourage SMEs is, first of all, we work with them to kind of help them identify what is most material to their company. What do they want to, what are they doing well? What do they want to share information on? And, maybe also identify areas where they could improve and, make progress on. We also have a lot of educational sessions, workshops, and webinars where we engage in peer-to-peer learning. So we'll have companies kind of come on and present and share information on their successful projects and, to help enable, not only SMEs, but really all member companies to learn from each other. We also have a variety of resources that we make available to our member companies. I mentioned briefly in my presentation our collaboration with the Water Council, which is a nonprofit group that we've worked with to help develop a water body risk assessment that chemical facilities, large and small, can use to really take a look at what impacts their facility is having on the local water in their region that, is a shared resource with everybody else in their community. So this can really help them identify any potential risks to water in their community, how they can address those, and really help them to kind of prioritize, what are the areas and facilities that may where they may need to give some extra focus. So I'd say that, really it's a combination of learning from each other and really helping, provide guidance to companies in terms of helping them report their sustainability metrics and really identify what their own individual priorities are. It's not a one size fits all situation. So it really kind of depends on what the company wants to focus on, and we try to help them identify that.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. So let's switch the subject a little bit to the hazard communication. Okay, so three of you are somehow heavily engaged in the global compliance project Mia just shared. Yeah. And I would like to ask you and invite you to share one or two focus areas from the customers or the authorities. Yeah. What are those? What are those common asks or demanding areas from the hazard communication perspective? So, Mia, would you like to go first?
Okay. Since HazCom team, we are doing the SDS and label generation, and so the most commonly seen inquiry is like from it could be from R&D, or it could be from the different people like our field engineer, and so sometimes internally we will see the inquiry like why we need to disclose SDS this way and why the classification look that way. So for internally, I think for R&D people, they pay attention to our hazardous component on SDS. That's what we disclose, and also they pay attention to the classification in section 2 of SDS. Like it could be like skin corrosion or ice damage, something. So because right now, I think our customers' focus area is something like they also want to use the more green chemistry. So they want to our SDS to be less hazardous, look less hazardous. As for the R&D people, they want us not disclosed to many composition because many of ingredients could be really confidential to business. So because of these two kind of area that these two areas are the internal for us is our internal customer focus area. So I think that's I have to say, yeah.
How about you, Karen? Any insights from you?
Yeah, sure. So I think one of the topic that we have been tracking for years is about the confidential business information, or we call it CBI protection on our SDS. So as we know that the CBI is very critical for the science companies like DuPont, that we need to survive in a fast-changing competitive market by protecting our CBI. So how to get the balance point between the regulatory requirements and protect our CBI is the topic we've been tracking on. So actually, we have successfully applied for CBI protection in several countries, such as Europe, Korea, and Taiwan. And for each jurisdictions, the CBI protection requirements are really different, such as the scope and the dossier content and the review time, the cost, as well as the approval validation period. So how could we really find a balance between protecting the user's safety as well as our company's CBI is always our focus. And we believe that there are still some opportunity for us to leverage the advantage from each jurisdictions and to find a good balance for us and for the management method. Yeah, thank you.
That's a good answer, yeah. So how about you, Nancy? Any sharing from you?
Okay, so for me, as I will receive customer inquiries or requests regarding our SDS information, I will say the hazardous information listed in SDS would be the primary concern from customers. So they would like to know what is the hazardous chemicals that we're providing with this material by looking at the SDS, and also they will want to know if they can actually follow the suggestion we provide to do the to protect their users. So I think except for hazardous information, any changes regarding the SDS would be another thing they care about. Like so that's why we will try to have like better communication between internally to external stakeholders to make sure that every time we have any changes regarding the hazards for the product GHS classification or the DG classification, we can let them know and understand why we are making this change to make them feel comfortable, or say to convince them that we are providing sufficient information for them to use this. Because I think customers nowadays, they will focus on how to not only protect their employee, but also to make sure that we provide green chemicals for their end application. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. So this is truly the challenges we faced every day. Hope the answers from the speakers can truly provide some valuable reference to you. Yeah. So my next question is to also Mia again about hazard communication. So you mentioned a lot of global projects we accomplished, like the Japan GIS, UNX2, and Taiwan Toxic and Concerned Chemical Substance Amendment. So can you share with us one or two challenges in common? How do we overcome those challenges as well? Yeah.
Thank you, Aaron. I think, as I just mentioned, that we have a lot of competing priorities in the past recent years, like Japan GIS and also EU Annex 2. So when we handling this kind of challenges, I think we really need to pay attention to coordination. So since I just shared the circle that we have many resources involved in the generation process, so we have to co-work the toxicologist and HASCOM author data system to make sure that whether the data in system is really correct, that we can use accurate. And also because of many different projects that we handle in parallel, so we really have to think about the deadline, and we have to manage those resources, so how much bandwidth we have and how much time we left, so to manage this. So I think that coordination is something that we need to very pay attention on. Otherwise, we probably need to rework many times. And the other thing is, I think communication is also the other key. And since we have so many projects, we have so many products. Like for Japan GIS, we roughly update around 4,000 SDS for Japan, for DuPont, whole DuPont. And for EU Annex 2, we probably need to also another update about maybe 10,000 SDS. So the project is kind of huge. So it impact a lot of business people, customers that are using that product. So communication is really another key that we need to overcome. That we need to communicate what kind of the changes before and the changes after we made the changes. After we made the change, yeah. So ensure that they are aware of the changes and make a necessary update to the document and or the safety in workplace. So I think that's two main challenges that we are facing, and we have to be prepared. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mia. Any add-on from Karen?
I think I totally agree what Mia just shared. I think the one of you can find that the most challenging in HESCOM work is the communication. Yeah, because we are an international company. So when we generate SDS for different jurisdictions, we really need to understand the regulatory requirements in each country, and sometimes they are totally different. So how to cooperate with a different team successfully is really our challenge every day for the SDS generation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And sometimes our young talents need to sacrifice their evening time, just like Jenny right now. Yeah, and they need to do the global communication. So that's necessary things to sacrifice. But yeah, we still very appreciate the resource and team we have in Taiwan here. So due to the time limits, and I believe it's about lunchtime in Taiwan now, and I would like to conclude this section from a comment from the audience. This is from also a DuPonters. Okay, thank you, Vinay. So his comment is like this: thanks to all the speakers of the wonderful presentation till now, and he wish everyone on the call as well in the conference room to learn more on sustainability and advocate those learnings. Let's make sustainability part of our life. Yeah. So thank you, everyone. I would like to conclude the first section, and thank you, Jenny and Mia, Karen, and Nancy. Thank you very much, and we will see you later in the afternoon. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep. See you soon. Bye-bye.